We like to think we're at the absolute peak of history, right? The most advanced civilization ever. But what if we're wrong? Today, we're going to dig into some forgotten Roman technologies that worked without a single watt of electricity, and they might just make you rethink everything. Let's get into it. I mean, this quote from our source material really just hits you, doesn't it? The idea that we might have actually downgraded since the fall of Rome. That's a pretty wild claim. So let's see if the evidence actually holds up. First up, let's talk about engineering a megacity. How in the world do you support over 1 million people without a modern power grid or plumbing? Well, the Romans figured it out using two things, gravity and pure genius. You see, it all starts with water. And the Romans weren't about to just cross their fingers and hope for rain. They built these incredible structures called aqueducts. The concept behind them was just beautiful in its simplicity. Use gravity. They engineer these incredibly precise, gentle slope over miles and miles to let fresh water flow all by itself, right into the heart of their bustling cities. And the scale here is it's staggering. We're talking about some of these water highways stretching for over 50 miles, crossing entire valleys on these massive, beautiful arches. They used a special waterproof cement that was so good, some of these aqueducts are still in use today, 2,000 years later. I mean, just think about that. Okay, so you've managed to bring all this clean water in. Awesome. But that brings up another huge problem, right? What do you do with all the dirty water going out? This was a massive issue for most ancient cities, leading to just filth and disease. So what was the Roman solution? Well, meet the Cloaca Maxima, which translates to the Great Drain. And let me tell you, this wasn't just some ditch in the ground. It was this huge network of underground tunnels, built with stone arches so perfectly fitted, they didn't even need mortar. The main channel was big enough that you could literally float a boat through it. And it was so well built that parts of it are still integrated into Rome's modern sewer system. It just brilliantly solved both flooding and sanitation in one go. And if you think that's impressive, get a load of this. We're talking about one of their most insane projects, draining the Fucine Lake. To pull this off, they had to tunnel 3.5 miles straight through a mountain. Using just basic tools and geometry, they had teams start digging from both ends, and almost unbelievably, they met right in the middle with near-perfect precision. It's just a mind-boggling feat of math and sheer willpower. Okay, so they've got their cities humming along. What's next? Power. But how do you create industrial-scale power without a single electrical outlet? Well, you get creative, and you learn how to harness the forces of nature itself. A key piece of tech here was the water wheel, and the Romans had two main flavors. The undershot wheel was simpler, it was just pushed by the current of a river. But the overshot wheel, the overshot wheel was a true game changer. By building a channel to drop water onto the top of the wheel, it used not just the flow, but the actual weight of the water to generate way more power. Now, this is the part that blows my mind. The efficiency of these overshot wheels was up to 70%. To give you some perspective, that's a number that some of our own modern machines still struggle to match. They use this incredible power for everything: grinding grain, sawing wood, crushing ore for mining, you name it. And for tasks that needed a ton of pressure, like making wine and olive oil, they came up with the screw press. This thing was an absolute beast, a true force multiplier. One person turning a handle could generate the crushing power of dozens of people. The design was so flawless that traditional wineries and olive oil presses still use it today. The Romans also understood a basic rule of physics that we rely on for almost everything today: reducing friction. They created roller bearings from simple wood and bronze because they got that rolling is way easier than sliding. They used these in heavy-duty cranes, but the most incredible example? They were found in the steering mechanisms of Emperor Caligula's massive 200-foot-long pleasure ships. And when I say pleasure ships, I mean they were basically floating palaces. All right, so we've covered the huge city-scale stuff and their industrial power. But Roman ingenuity didn't stop at the city gates. It went right into their homes, creating luxuries and conveniences that might really surprise you. Forget cuddling up to a fireplace. The Romans invented central heating. Seriously. It was called the hypocaust system. Here's how it worked. A furnace outside the building would heat up air. That hot air would then flow under a raised floor, held up by pillars, and then travel up through hollow channels built right into the walls. The result was a toasty, evenly heated building from the floor up, all using the natural convection of hot air. Brilliant! And where did they use this incredible heating tech on a massive scale? In their public baths. And these places were not just for getting clean. As our source puts it, they were basically the social media of ancient Rome. We're talking huge complexes with heated pools of different temperatures, libraries, gyms, gardens. They were the center of social life for everybody. You know how in any big city, space is everything? The Romans had the same problem. Their elegant solution was the spiral staircase. It let them build upwards without eating up a giant footprint like a traditional staircase. But here's the really clever part. It was also a defensive masterstroke in towers. It gave defenders at the top a natural advantage against anyone trying to fight their way up. And how about telling time when you're on the move? Forget checking your smartphone. The Romans had portable, pocket-sized sundials. And these weren't one-size-fits-all gadgets. They were sophisticated instruments with markings specifically calculated and customized for different latitudes across their huge empire, from cloudy Britain to sunny Egypt. No batteries, no moving parts, just pure, clever geometry. So how? How did all this amazing stuff last for thousands of years? Well, the final piece of this whole puzzle, the secret ingredient, is in the materials themselves. The Romans had what you could basically call an immortality formula. Their ultimate secret weapon was Roman concrete. Now, this was nothing like the stuff we use today. Their mix used lime and a very specific volcanic ash from Mount Vesuvius, of all places. And this unique combination created a material that didn't just last. It actually got stronger over time, especially when it was exposed to seawater. And this is where things get truly unbelievable. Just look at this comparison. Modern concrete starts to crack and degrade in about 50 years. Roman concrete has lasted for over 2 millennia because it self-heals. It literally heals itself. When seawater seeps into tiny cracks, it kicks off a chemical reaction that grows new interlocking crystals, sealing the damage and making the whole structure even stronger. It's incredible. And if you need to see it to believe it, just look at the Pantheon in Rome. Its gigantic dome is the largest unreinforced concrete dome on the entire planet, and it is still standing perfectly almost 2,000 years after it was built. It is an absolute wonder of engineering. And this obsession with making things that last, it went all the way down to their dinnerware. Samian ware was this high-quality, mass-produced pottery with a signature glossy red finish. It was so tough that archaeologists find it in near-perfect condition after being buried for 2,000 years. In fact, it was traded so widely across the empire that today we can actually map ancient Roman trade routes just by tracking where its broken pieces are found. So, to wrap it all up, from water superhighways to concrete that literally heals itself, the Romans solved these epic challenges with brilliant practical engineering. They built this world of incredible sophistication, not with electricity, but with a deep, profound understanding of natural forces. And all this really leaves us with one big question to chew on. The Romans had a mindset of building for eternity. So I have to ask, what are we building today with all of our advanced technology that will still be standing, still be useful 2,000 years from now?